what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Thronebreaker, and, well, everybody hates us, but you know what? We're doing us. We're finding a way to get ourselves keys, coins, and resources, and if other people have a problem with that, then so be it. You know what? We're the queen, right? What we say goes. Now, does the church hate us at this stage? Yeah, probably, but, we'll find a way to make do with that. Now, let's take a look here at our map to see where we ought to go next. Because, actually, wow, okay. I was talking earlier about how we got a key from that fight we had with the dragon, or technically I think it was, what, a forktail or something like that? And there is this loot here that has a key next to it. And so I think that is presumably where the loot we are looking for is. Which means actually doubling back here just a bit. And it looks like it's maybe more so on this side. Let's take another look at our map, maybe to see. Oh, just this, I guess. Do we hit? Aha! We do have the key for it. That must have been it. Oh. It just lets us into the place where we already were. Well, that's lovely. That's just lovely, isn't it? Let's just double check our map here. Do we still see that sign with the key? No, we don't, so I suppose it was just a way to connect these areas? I mean, it really sounded like the note that we got was saying how there was likely to be some kind of loot, and I thought they said on the embankment, on the southern side of the monastery, or the church, or whatever type of religious building it technically is, although, well, I mean, I was looking on the, I don't know if this is technically on the edge of the building, because we're getting somewhat far away from it. So, you know, perhaps we just carry on here, and, I mean, the other thing would be potentially, like, this here, along the river somewhere. I thought it said at the southern wall, and this is, like, not exactly southern. Probably more east, if anything. So I think we carry on here. In which case, we'll keep on going toward what looks to be our main quest down here. Now, there is probably going to be at least one thing that we run into along the way, given how we know we have at least a puzzle here, although perhaps we might find something else of note in whatever this settlement might be. So not necessarily sure if we'll get there just yet, but we'll start heading our way over there. And I'm guessing this is said puzzle. Yeah, we can see the puzzle sign. Those look like drowners to me. Just wondering if there's anything in and around this area that we might be able to do first, because we have kind of sort of been here before, right? I believe we have already activated this fast travel spot, have we not? Fairly certain that we have, because we've been further to the west over here and spent some time there previously. So I think in that case, unless there's little pieces of loot that we can have here, I mean, there's the people over there, but why don't we go for this encounter here, unless, of course, there was something that we could do to improve our long-term resource scaling here. We can't quite afford, but we are extremely close to being able to do that. Getting one recruit with every battle won. I think we did determine that this doesn't actually count for puzzle matches, but it still is something that I'd like to make a point of doing more or less as soon as possible. And seeing as how it may just take one more round of picking up coins for that to be the case, then that might be worth trying to do.
Demons they was. Horns on their heads and pig snouts instead of noses.
Oh, and speaking of recruits, looks like we can potentially get some here. Let's chat with this person, so we might be able to learn more from her.
Beware, some bandits on thy road round dawn. Those that call themselves the Strays.
Yeah, that is consistent with what we have seen, heard, and encountered.
Beware, some bandits on thy road round dawn. Those that call themselves the Strays.
Okay, so it seems like that's all she has to say to us. But, well, that's 6 recruits. That's a lot. Can we walk through this? Because I see the loot there. Pile of wood. Are we close enough to get this? We are not. We have to go around. Like, how do you actually get there? Is that accessible through the woods like so? Kind of, sort of? Can we take this? Ooh. Take that. Is this not the town where we were previously? I think it was. Not entirely sure what that was supposed to be there, but yeah, this is like a little secret loot here. Hiding behind town. And what was it? I think it was 1,500 was the gold threshold we were looking for. So we're close, but we're not quite there. And what is the deal with this guy? He has a question mark over his head. Do you have a side quest for us, perhaps? Let's see, Your Grace. A traveling merchant has stopped in the village. He's invited you to have a look at his wares, for which he has promised modest prices. I have no desire to buy, but I have something to sell. We can sell wood to gain gold, or we can do the opposite, buy wood with gold, or we can just go away. So, I think what we were looking for was something that cost 1,500 gold and I think just 500 wood, so theoretically this would get us there. Okay, is that actually a good exchange rate? I mean, it's more coins than it is wood. Are coins generally worth less than wood? I'm still not 100% sure, but I think, given the circumstances, given how that is something that we're trying to pick up now is more gold in particular, I think we do take this. I think we do take that. And then we go here. And we go to our workshop, if it would let me click on it. Thank you. And then it was training grounds for, yeah, the Herald study. We do have just enough for that. I mean, just enough. So we are now pretty darn broke. Which, one thing I was a little bit concerned about was that if we go into any major decisions at this stage when we have so few resources, might find ourselves without the ability to pursue one of the options because it might require that we spend a certain amount of wood or gold to do it and we just won't have enough. So that's one reason to potentially try to, do a little bit more looting, or perhaps a puzzle I think is probably fairly safe, but for example, I don't think it would be a good idea for us to, at this stage, decide that now is the time to go straight into the main quest here. Also, do we know what... Oh, that's a notice board. Okay, I was gonna say, is this, do we have a house here or something? No, we've seen those before. We've seen them before. But okay, let's head over to this puzzle, and let's see what it's all about. Like I said, it looks like drowners, I would think. So let's investigate. Okay, so Meve stood on the banks of the Badger Run, a modest river with a strong current and dark reputation. Fishing boats overturned, clothes ripped from the hands of washerwives, children playing on the banks swept away in a flash. Locals have long suspected that something malicious resides underneath those raging waters. Okay, eliminate all drowners, that is as I suspected. Do not let any allies die. Hint. This is the first time we've gotten a hint on any of these puzzles, I think. I don't recall ever seeing one of those before. I believe that's new. It takes just one damage to turn an even into an odd. Okay. I am anticipating what we might be running into here because, of course, it is a puzzle. That means it will also have special rules, and it's a shortened battle with just, presumably, one round, and we'll have a customized deck. So let's start this up. I'm intrigued. Okay, so yeah, only one round, as we expected. Eliminate all drowners, do not let any allies die, and as I said, hint takes just one damage to turn an even into an odd. Okay. So, let's see. Every turn on turn start, if this unit's power is even, switch rows and damage all units on the opposite row by 2. Okay. So in that case, what we really want, unit's power is even, switch rows, damage all units on the opposite row. We really want to keep these on even strength. And then if we do that, then they'll damage each other, and then they do most of the work for us. So that would mean that if we are damaging, we want to make sure that we're damaging in chunks of 2 or chunks of 4. Otherwise, we're or 6 or 8, though I'm not sure this is going to be long enough for that to become a factor, because, like I was saying on that hint there, as it turns out, if you add or subtract an even number by an odd number, then it turns into an odd number, and we don't want that. So that means that, for example, starting off with Lyria and Rivia, bad idea. Don't do it, unless for some reason we wouldn't want them to do the damage thing, but I assume we do. But let's take a look at our cards here that we have in our hand. Lyria and Rivia, damage unit by the number of cards on this row, including self. So, like I was saying, I think we'd probably want to play this either second or fourth. Make sure that we are dealing an even amount of damage. Probably second, to tell you the truth, because I'm not sure we want to kill one of them outright, because we actually want them to do this movement, because then they will do some damage, which will help us out. Then we have Decoy, Restraint. Return an ally from the battlefield to hand. Okay, so the question I have is, it says, do not let any allies die. Like, I get the eliminate all drowners, but does our opponent have a hand here? Because, I mean, they don't appear to have one. They have a deck. But are they going to be playing additional cards above and beyond these drowners? And if so, is the damage going to come from those? Or are these drowners suddenly going to sprout horns and claws and swords and start attacking our Lyria and Rivia and whatnot? Because the decoy, I would think, the use for this is if you see that you have a card that is about to get destroyed, you use decoy to get it back, and that way it's no longer going to get destroyed. So it's kind of your safety net. Then we have the War Wagon, spawn 2 light infantry to the right. Okay, so this is what I'm thinking. This can give us a lot of damage, because spawning in additional units can give more damage than Lyria and Rivia. However, those light infantry have just 2 power. So I'm thinking these would be the ones that would be vulnerable to getting destroyed, assuming that our opponent does actually have some form of damage. Then we have the Wagenberg, which is definitely a great source of damage, and that is a card that we probably want to play first, unless there's some nifty number crunching that we need to do to get a precise amount of damage, which is probably the case, which may require that we actually play the Wagenberg in a different order. Then we have Crushing Trap, Spying, Restraint. Let's check these. So if it's spying, it means that we play it on the opponent's side of the battlefield. It has restraint, so it can't target bosses. Okay. I don't think any of these guys, the drowners, count as bosses at the moment. And then trigger this ability when played. Okay. So set the power of each unit on this row to the average of all units' power, then destroy self. Now that's a tricky one. I imagine what this is this is basically a way, if you have a strange amount of damage that you've dealt, and maybe, cards are not on an even amount of power, then you use this, and that will average them out and hopefully get us to the point where all the cards are on even power, and therefore all the cards deal damage. So what I think we do here is, as with any puzzle, we'll experiment a bit, but I think we start with the Wagenberg, and we'll end our turn here, and when we do end our turn, that should mean that the drowners will deal some damage to each other, because they will be on even strength here. Oh no, they damage us! I totally read that as they damaged themselves. Now I understand where the damage is coming from. That makes a lot more sense. Okay. Now I see. That makes a lot more sense. Okay. So in that case, that actually means we want to have them on an odd amount of power. Okay. Okay. Let's reevaluate then. Turn end. If this unit's power is seen, switch units to damage all units on the opposite row. Yeah, so opposite means if they're in the melee row, or technically, if they're switching into the melee row, then the opposite row would be our melee row. If they're switching into the range row, then the opposite would be our range row. Initially, I should have remembered that from multiplayer Gwent, but originally I was assuming that it was, the ones switching into the melee row would damage their own units in the range row, and vice versa. And so I was like, okay, first turn, let's just not touch them, and then they'll damage each other, and they do half the work for us. But that seemed pretty easy. And so, as we saw there, no, it's not actually how it works, and that is perhaps for the best. So, in that case, we want to damage these guys. We want to damage them early, otherwise we are in trouble. So, how do we avoid having a card get destroyed? I think We were talking earlier about how we thought Lyria and Rivia would not be a card that we play on our first turn to avoid putting these cards on an automatic power, but now because we actually realize that we do, that means that suddenly, no, the Lyria and Rivia actually is a card that we might want to play on our first turn. Not to mention, it has enough power, 6, that even if it gets hit by a couple of drowners, it is capable of surviving that. So that is also a potential reason to lead off with this, because I think we want to just... Oh, yeah, I think we want to just try to get as many of these drowners on odd power as quickly as possible. And then, once we've done that, it'll become much safer to play cards like the Wagenberg, which, as we saw in our first attempt, because that has just 3 power, can easily get destroyed if it gets hit by some of these drowners. So, let's experiment here a bit. Let's start off with the Arbalest, and I'm just thinking about the row in which we play it and the row in which we deal damage will dictate whether or not it gets hit on this first turn, and it can theoretically take 2 hits from the drowners. Is there any reason why we would want that to happen? I mean, potentially to make it easier to put other cards in safer spots instead of the Arbalest. You know, basically protect the more vulnerable units, and the Arbalest who can at least take a couple of hits, put it in a place where maybe it's, you know, it's gonna get hit a little bit. So, I mean, let's try melee row first, and let's damage this drowner, which should mean that this drowner will move into the melee. They'll both move into the melee row. Oh no, actually, if it's odd, then it will not change rows. It looks like it only deals the damage if it moves, and it only moves if it's on an even number. So that means this will move in, deal 2 damage. These will move out, and they have nothing to damage in our range row. This one, I think, is actually going to stay stagnant. That's not what I initially thought would be the case, but at a closer read, that may actually be the case. Let's see. Yeah, it's just this. Okay. So that's interesting. That's interesting. That means that once you do damage something and put it on an odd number, then suddenly you can sort of lock it in place there. And that has some nifty little things you can do with that, because now we know that there's always going to be 1 damage, or at least as things currently stand, there's going to be 2 damage coming from this drowner whenever it moves into a row, whereas on the rows in which these 2 drowners are moving, obviously that's 4 damage, that'll be a lot more. So for example, that means that as things currently stand, if nothing else changes, this Lyria and Rivia will get destroyed on our next turn because these drowners would both hit it, dealing a total of 4 damage. It goes down, we lose. So we need to do something to stop that. And we could just get rid of the Arbalest. Not a terrible idea, because then, of course, these guys no longer have anything to hit. We can play the Lyria and Rivia on our next turn, and then deal 1 damage, and in doing so, put one of these drowners on an odd number of power, and that is certainly helpful. Is that good enough, though? I still don't have a great sense as to how we're going to use this until I actually start to see how the numbers line up. So I think what we do here is, let's just try the decoy. I'm not necessarily sure if this is the right time to use it. But now what it means is that if we do this, and this is probably the part where I'm the least certain. You know, this may not be the right order of operations, but by doing this, now we have 2 of the drowners on an odd amount of power. And that means that basically every other turn, this row will be safe. But on turns when it's not safe, of course, there's going to be 4 damage coming in. So it's going to be a little scary then. The reason why I'm not so certain about this is because the Arbalest, of course, deal more damage when there are more cards in the same row as it. And if we keep on just dealing 1 damage with it, then are we actually going to have enough damage to get rid of these guys? Maybe not. Oh, and Gallic, for example. No, I don't think you should go with the Arbalest there. Because now what we're going to see is if we want to play a card in the melee row on this turn, which I think we are probably going to, for the most part, end up using melee row just because the Arbalists have limited range. We can only hit the melee row if we're playing in the range row. I think what we wanted to do was put one of our more vulnerable cards, like the Wagenberg, down in the melee row that time, and then on our next turn, we would have played the Arbalist, or maybe even War Wagon. War Wagon, I think. Light Infantry would have gotten destroyed unless we got really clever with using their orders. Ooh. Yeah. I mean, this one's just all about doing things in the right order. But I don't think we got it here. Because this hits all units, right? All units. Yeah. So that means Wagenburg can't go down. Otherwise, it'll get destroyed. It means War Wagon... Well, I mean, unless we put Wagenburg over here. We don't really think we do want to do. Yeah, I think we definitely messed up. We go with the War Wagon, then it spawns in the Light Infantry gets destroyed. We play Wagenburg just gets destroyed. Crushing Trap, I mean, I'm not sure how it's going to round here, but this is the only thing that... Oh! Wait. Huh? He does damage? Oh, okay. So at first it just looks like it was damaging everything by 1. It's like, does it damage everything by 1 and then it averages the power? No, as it turns out, it rounds down by the looks of things. So that put everyone on an odd number of power. So that is actually quite useful to us. Actually, we might have this. Come to think of it, we might actually have this. So we go Wagenburg now. Now we go War Wagon. Oh, well, end our turn. But now we go War Wagon.
Can't take it anymore.
That gives us 3 armor here. We do it here. And we're done. Turns out that's how you do it. I mean, I don't actually know. I'd be curious to see if some of the puzzles, there may in fact be a couple of ways, or numerous ways in which to succeed. And for the most part, it has at least felt like in the past, as though there's been sort of a scripted way, you know, a way in which you are supposed to do it, but maybe there are some times when you get a little bit creative and find some alternative method. Let's see. We found a letter. Son. Darned collectors stopped by Hawksburn again. And once again, we survive by the skin of our teeth, so our beloved queen can import yet another Zaracanian rug. Devils, take her, I say. Gather anything of worth in the cottage, and wrap it greased sheepskin. I think it'd be in greased sheepskin, but you get the point. Take it to the field, and among the sheaves, bury it. These cursed collectors will just have to make do with what pittance we give them. So I wonder to what extent this is in response to what we did earlier on. I mean, generally speaking, if there's been an opportunity to make people mad at us, we have made people mad at us. And this was what I would think, perhaps in most direct connection to when we opted to, what was it? When we drafted the men and told the women, what we told the women to do in the first town that we came across. But didn't we also opt to try to collect taxes from people at some point, I think? In which case, if we hadn't chosen to do that, would we have still gotten this letter? I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering. But that is actually a treasure map, as it turns out. And so, okay. And you guys were saying previously, you cannot actually get these pieces of hidden treasure unless you have the map. You can go to the right place, you can look for it, but if you don't have the map, then you just aren't able to do it. So that's definitely good in that case. So, this looks like, well, as I was saying, some kind of field and then perhaps a wall here. I'm not sure. I guess these are all trees? Okay. So we'll have to try to track that down. In addition to nabbing some other goodies here. Let's see. Anything else? I don't actually think we can get down here on the riverbank itself. Looks like that's blocked off. Let's see if we can find this treasure. I'm guessing it's maybe in here. I think it's going to be right there-ish. Basically right next to this chicken. Perhaps. There it is. There it is. Now we're talking. What do we have here? What do we have here? Oh ho ho ho. Okay, so this is a premium version of a card in multiplayer Gwent. I'll be honest with you. This is one of, if not my most hated card in multiplayer Gwent. So, Although it's nice to get the premium version of this card, part of me is still like, do I really want it though? Do I really want it though? I don't know. Anyways, congratulations! You discovered a card that can be used in Gwent multiplayer. It is Lippy Goodman and 150? I'm actually not sure what that means. In multiplayer Gwent, he certainly does not have 150 power, I can tell you that much. I don't know if in Thronebreaker if he does. I mean, obviously we've seen that the effects of cards have certainly changed, but that would be quite a powerful card in that case, I would think. Let's take a look here at what else we have in the area. I think it looks like this loot is on the other side of the river, and presumably we have to loop all the way around before we can get there. So in that case, I think we have now done everything in this northernmost area. Looks like we're probably heading further south in that case, and maybe we'll check out what loot or notice board notices we might find and see if there's anything that directs us toward doing. Let's head down further south here. And definitely a success there with that previous puzzle. So that's good to see. Did we chat with this woman? We talked to someone in this general area. Was it her?
Those bandits,
I think so.
dressed as demons they was. Horns
Yeah.
on their heads and pig snouts instead of noses.
Yeah, we've already chatted with you. Okay, so this is the notice board area. Actually, hold on. In that case, how do we get here? It's basically past that woman we were just speaking with? Is there a way to go past her? Hold on. Hold on. Surely there is. Can we go around this fence? Oh, we did see... Previously, we were able to go through the woods here, but can we... Oh, there's this loot here. Is it just a reference to this? Is it close enough to loot that? No? Hold on. Can we go down... Is this still something we can go down? No? We go further? Maybe we got a little bit distracted by this merchant. By this tree? Is this a place where we can go down? No? There's a golden chest there, or at least a nice chest of some variety. Maybe that's the loot, to tell you the truth. Yeah, that might be it. If we're looking at our map here, does that look like that's in the right spot? No. We are quite a bit further, in fact. It's like right over here. But it seems like perhaps, on closer inspection, perhaps we need to go down this way, across this bridge, and then go back up. And only then will we be able to get hit this, and if we were to go further west, presumably, we'd be able to get that chest that we were just looking at. I'm thinking that may be the case. I think so. So either way, that probably means that we are heading into that town next and checking out what there is at that notice board. So in that case, let's give it a look. And is there anything like that little... technically a birdhouse or a little shrine? I'm not entirely sure, to tell you the truth, but let's see what's going on in here and chat with the locals a bit. This is Greenbow. Milady, March has taken its toll on the men. A brief sojourn at this inn would do them good. Nothing improves morale quite like live music and a frosty mug of Viziman Champion. A sound idea? Tell the innkeep to ready his finest ale and fare. This would cost us a little bit of monies, but we would gain morale, or we could stop the march for ale? I mean, an army, not a hunting party. Forward march. So it's basically just a question of how much do we value our morale here? And is it worth 50 coins? And for the most part, I'd say it doesn't seem like a very steep price. However, I thought we saw that our morale resets pretty darn quickly. And I'm not necessarily sure if this is a time in which we are terribly concerned about our morale. I mean, if we were on low morale, I might say, yeah, if we are thinking that the next big thing we're going to do is go to the main quest encounter, then perhaps it is worth doing. But we still have enough new things to explore before we get there that may not be the case. It's not a lot of coins, but we are also kind of broke at the moment, so tell you what, I think we may skip it. And by the looks of things, it appears as though we could go back to him later and pay for it then, which might be preferable. see what this guy's talking about. I missed most of that, but perhaps we can chat with him later as well. Can we talk to this guy? I'm not sure we can. Well, the initially thing I was looking to do here was just to see what the deal was with the notice board, which will give us signs of loot, a new puzzle here, and a point of interest there. So yeah, that's what I mean. Is that I think I'm guessing. Oh, and did we know about this golden chest here? We may not have, but either way, I'm thinking we're probably going to be looking to get this loot, perhaps do the puzzle, and check out this point of interest before we actually go to the main quest. I'm assuming that it may generally be the right course of action to try to more or less do everything else before you progress the main quest. At least sometimes that's the case in games. So I think probably best to work on that assumption until proven otherwise, or at least, you know, for the most part, with maybe just a few exceptions here and there. So let's just take a look a little bit further and maybe see what this guy has to say after all. And or loot some more wood and gold and... I mean, so basically the cost of a morale boost is more or less 2 rounds of loot, which is, like I said, it's not a lot, but it doesn't feel like we need it right now.
I'm bringing honey for the groom and his lovely bride. May their new life prove at least as sweet.
Okay. New bride, you say? There's a local wedding?
Dance till we die, or the sun lights the sky. Dance till we die, or the sun lights the sky.
Seems like people are pretty positive about it. Sounds good.
Dance till we die, or the sun lights the sky. Dance till we die, or the sun lights the sky.
Seems like that's all this guy has to say about it, though. Okay. So now, as we're getting over here, I think we were talking about some loots to be had. Yeah, if we go up to the north at the very least, there should theoretically be something.
The Queen rides hither. The Queen. She'll smite the bandits. Save us, one and all.
Yeah. Hopefully. Get some more recruits, and at this stage, I mean, once upon a time, it seemed like recruits were going to be fairly scarce, but after spending a bunch of gold and a bunch of wood, and not really anything in terms of recruits, maybe looking to upgrade some of our cards soon and put that resource to good use. See if we can chat more with this guy, though.
The Queen rides hither. The Queen. She'll smite the bandits. Save us, one and all.
And this is what he said when we were just walking by him before without even clicking on him, so might be all he has to say. Let's just double check. Yeah, seems like it.
She'll smite the bandits. Save us, one and all.
Okay. In that case, I want to see if we can get past this area. We can. Okay. And this is, I mean, what appeared to be the source of loot that was showing up on our map before. Not entirely sure if it was that or something a little bit bigger than that. But there was also a bigger chest, yeah, over here, which I think we definitely want to pick up before we forget about it. So let's see what the deal is there, and I'm just also double-checking to see if there's anything else. A more moderate looting sort to pick up there. Let's see what this is. Congratulations, you can use this avatar border in the Gwent multiplayer card game. Ooh, I do like the looks of that. I do like the looks of that. And again, it's basically, as it explains there, it's a border that goes around the picture for your profile. But yeah, I like it. I like it. Let's claim it. Alright, but with that being said, I think this is probably a good place for us to wrap up here, and next time around we'll explore more of the area and at least approach the next part of the main quest. Again, not sure exactly how much stuff there's going to be to do before we get there, but looking forward to giving it a shot. So, I'll catch you next time.